How you doing, and welcome to Neither Real Music. I'm Ed, and this is Just Play It for the piano. We are going to take a look at a basic arrangement for the song Alice in Wonderland. If you followed along with any of my guitar videos, this is going to be very similar, except geared towards piano. So we'll go over the basics, and then we'll give you a little bit of an opportunity to practice. If you enjoy what you're watching, please remember to subscribe and ring the bell so that you know when your next lesson is coming. Let's take a look at the first 8 measures of Alice in Wonderland on piano. Starting here in measure 1, we're going to build a mocked D minor chord using the notes D and F in our right hand and a bass note D, and our melody note is going to be G. So now from here, we're going to jump up 1 octave with our right hand to D, F, and G, and our new bass note is going to be the note G. So in this measure, this is measure 2, we're going to be building a G7 chord. Oddly enough, a melody note D minor 7 and a G7 chord have very similar notes. We would end up thinking of them as a G9 chord. So jump an octave. Now from here, we're going to do the notes B, D, and F, because our melody note is F, and we're going to hold the note G. This makes our G minor 7. G, B, D, and F. So if we put measures 1 and 2 together, we have notice I'm holding my bass note to let it ring. From here, in measure 3, we're going to go to a C major 7 chord, and we're going to mock that also. We're going to do B, C, and E. And then from there, we're going to do a pretty large jump to the notes E, G, and C. So C major and C major 7 are very similar in their quality, although they do contain different notes. So our melody note is E, and we do C with B, C, and E. And then we jump to where our melody note is C, and we do E, G, and C. Measure 1. Measure 2. Measure 3. And measure 4 of our first sequence is an F major 9 chord. So we have F, A, and C. We're going to leave this 7 out for now. We're going to add the G in. If you wanted to include your note E, you're more than welcome to. It would just add a little bit of texture to the sequence. So let's look at those 4 measures one more time. Measure 2. Measure 3. Measure 4. Each measure is outlining the chord that is associated with that measure and the main melody note. When we move on to measure 5, we have a little sequence of thirds where the chord for this is a B minor 7 flat 5, but there's no way to include the melody notes and do nothing but B minor 7 flat 5s. So we just are working on different chord sequences that mock that idea. So we're going to have F with B and D, which is a nice B diminished chord. Then we're going to have G with C and E, which is a C major chord over G. And then we're going to have A with B, D, and F, which is a B minor 7 flat 5 chord. Which is basically like 7, 1, 7 in the key. Now from here we're going to go to an E7 chord. And I'm going to be starting by mocking that by playing E in my bass note, and the notes B, D, and E in my right hand chord. So measure 6 has this E7 chord. And then from here, I'm going to add the G sharp in on beat number 3. So we have, and that completes our E7 chord. If we start at measure 5, we end up with this idea. It's measures 5 and 6. Now from here, we're going to go to a straight A minor chord. On beat 3, we're going to make it A minor 7 by moving this to G. We don't need to re-hit the bass note, but when we add these notes together, A, G, and C, we're mocking an A minor 7 chord. So let's start from measure 5. Now we have this really out-of-the-box chord, E flat 7. Well, how can we go to E flat 7 in this sequence? It comes from a different key, okay? E flat comes from the key of B flat, and it's acting as a dominant chord to get to a D minor. So we would call this a 5 of 3. That's one way to look at it. As far as like how context could allow that E flat to sit in the sequence. So now let's take a look at our first 8 measures played one right after the other. So measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4, measure 5, measure 6, measure 7, and measure 8. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of time and the sheet music to follow along with. You can also play along with the synesthesia drop-down bars so that you could see where you should be putting your fingers. And if you follow the synesthesia, that will give you your fingering for the sequence. Let's try putting this idea all together. 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to give you an opportunity to play along. We're going to start out with the sheet music to play along with. Then you could play along with just the synesthesia drop-down bars. Then we're going to try to put those two ideas together so you can see where things link up. And after that, I'm just going to give you the sheet music without sound to play along with. And then I'll just give you the synesthesia without sound to try to play along with. This way you have lots of opportunities to practice what you're supposed to know for this sequence. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. One, two, three. I am leaving out some of the fancier aspects of playing. So instead of just playing, as you get more comfortable, simple ideas can become much more interesting. So I can go. And I can start playing around with this a lot more often to make much more interesting sounding sequences. And I use my notes, I add and I subtract time, and I make things sound more interesting. So remember that just because this is a basic arrangement does not mean that it doesn't provide interest, it doesn't provide texture, it doesn't provide unique harmony. You get to add that stuff in as you become much more comfortable with these sequences. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. Compliments are nice, but questions let me know that you're working on these things. Please remember to subscribe so that you know when your next lesson is coming. After that, we'll do the next 8 measures to try to build on this arrangement. If you can, please consider going to my Patreon page. Even a donation as little as $1 could help me to find more time to create these arrangements for you to practice along with. I really hope videos like this are helping you become a better player. Good luck, good practice.